All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into Contact, a story that tackles one of the biggest questions we can ask. What happens when we finally find out we're not alone? It's this incredible story about the collision between hard science and deep faith, all kicked off by one single signal from the stars.
You know, everything in this story really boils down to this one line. It's what Eleanor Arroway's dad says to her as a kid, and it just lodges in her brain. It becomes this lifelong obsession, this driving force to answer that question that, let's be honest, we've all wondered about. Are we really the only ones out here?
So, this question absolutely consumes Dr. Arroway. She grows up to be this brilliant, super dedicated scientist, and for years, years, her whole life is just listening, pointing these enormous radio telescopes out into the void, just hoping to catch a single, tiny, intelligent whisper in all that cosmic noise.
And let me tell you, this search is not glamorous at all. It is a long, hard, frustrating slog. Her colleagues basically think she's throwing her career away. They call it professional suicide. Her funding gets yanked, and she's constantly having to scramble, practically begging for money just to keep the lights on and the dishes pointed at the sky. It really just shows you how incredibly driven she is.
And then it happens. After all those years of nothing, a signal, a really strong, structured pulse slices right through the static. It's coming from Vega, which is, 26 light years away. And the key thing is, it's not random, it's a pattern.
So what's the pattern? Prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and so on. This is it. This is the smoking gun. See, nothing in nature, not a pulsar, not a black hole, nothing creates a sequence of prime numbers. Math is the one language we can bet on being universal. And this pattern, it's basically a deliberate, crystal clear hello from an intelligent source. This is it. This is first contact.
And of course, the world just erupts. You've got governments scrambling, some people celebrating, others totally panicking. But here's the thing. Those prime numbers? That was just the envelope, the "you've got mail" ping. Buried way deeper inside that signal was something much, much bigger.
The way they structured the message was, wow, it was genius. As a kind of return receipt, a way to prove they heard us, they sent back the very first television signal from Earth that was strong enough to leave our atmosphere. And what was it? The 1936 Berlin Olympics. So it's their way of saying, yep, got your message. But piggybacking on top of that kind of creepy historic footage were thousands and thousands of pages of brand new data. So it takes this huge, worldwide effort to crack it, and the final key comes from this mysterious, super reclusive billionaire, S.R. Hayden. And what's in the message? Blueprints. Detailed schematics for this massive, unbelievably complex machine, a machine designed for one person, one single human passenger. But what is it for? Is it a ship? A communication device? Something else entirely? Nobody has a clue.
You'd think a discovery like this would unite humanity, right? Nope. It does the exact opposite. It rips the world apart. And this machine, this big unknown, becomes the focal point for one of the oldest debates we've ever had, the fight between science and faith. The battle between what you can prove and what you have to believe.
And this massive global argument is basically personified in the relationship between two characters. You have Ellie, the pure scientist. For her, if you can't measure it, it's not real. And then you have Palmer Joss, this really compelling spiritual leader who pushes back and says, hey, a world run only by technology, without any room for faith or mystery, that's an empty world. And this right here, this is the heart of their whole conflict. Joss hits Ellie with the question that just stops her in her tracks, a question that science has absolutely no answer for. He asks her if she loved her father, and when she says yes, he says, prove it. And with that, he forces her to face this uncomfortable idea that maybe, just maybe, the most profound and important things in life can't be proven with data.
And this isn't just some late-night dorm room debate. It gets very real, very fast. A global committee gets put together to decide who gets to sit in that seat. Who should represent all of us? Should it be a scientist like Ellie who actually understands the language of the message? Or should it be someone who represents the faith and beliefs of billions of people on the planet?
Well, the first machine, it gets destroyed in a terrorist attack, a total tragedy. But then, in this amazing twist, it turns out that old S.R. Hayden, the billionaire, was one step ahead. He secretly built a second machine, a backup, in Japan.
And this time, despite all the politics and everything, Ellie gets the seat. She's the one who's going.
And what she sees on her journey, it's beyond science, it's beyond words. She's zipping through this network of wormholes, seeing these incredible cosmic sights, a beauty that you just can't capture in an equation. And her famous line says it all. She's not thinking like a scientist anymore. She's just overwhelmed with pure awe.
But here's where things get really weird. For Ellie, this was a journey that lasted for hours. She traveled across the galaxy. But for everyone watching back on Earth, the cameras show our pod just dropping straight through the machine and landing in the net below. The whole thing is over in less than a second. From the outside, it looks like an absolute failure. It looks like nothing happened at all. So Ellie comes back completely transformed by this incredible experience, but she has zero proof. No alien souvenirs, no weird space dust, no verifiable data, nothing. All she has is her story. And in this incredible twist of irony, the scientist who lived by the motto, "Prove it," is now in the exact same position she used to mock. She's asking people to take her word for it, to have faith. Of course, there's a big congressional hearing, and the committee boils it all down to a choice between two possible stories. And honestly, they're both pretty wild.
So which one makes more sense? Which is the simpler explanation? Is it that Ellie Arroway really did travel through a wormhole and meet an alien? Or is it that S.R. Haddon, this brilliant, kind of crazy billionaire, pulled off the most massive, most expensive hoax in the history of the world as his final masterpiece? When you think about it, the hoax almost seems more plausible, right?
So with everyone skeptical, and with literally no evidence to back her up, all Ellie has is her own testimony. She has to stand there and make this incredibly powerful plea, not as a scientist citing data, but just as a person, speaking from the heart. She's forced to argue from a place of pure, gut-level conviction. She's arguing from a place of, well, faith.
The official investigation wraps up. And, publicly, the verdict is that it was all a hoax, a grand delusion cooked up by Haddon. Case closed. But deep in a top-secret report, one little piece of data turns up, something that just doesn't quite fit with the hoax theory.
Remember how the event on Earth was over in a flash, less than a second? Well, the personal recorder Ellie was wearing, the one that should have just recorded a blip of static, it recorded 18 hours of static. 18 hours. The exact same amount of time that Ellie experienced on her journey. Now, is that proof? No. But it's one heck of an unexplainable detail, isn't it?
And that's where the story so brilliantly leaves us. It turns the whole question right back around to you, to me, to all of us. You have this incredible, life-altering testimony on one hand, and a complete lack of hard evidence on the other, except for one tiny, mysterious piece of data. So what do? Are you willing to take that leap? Contact really suggests that maybe the biggest discoveries aren't out there in space, but right here, inside ourselves. So, the final question is, what do you believe?